Travelling, Rome. So it was 2007 when a group of us, well, there were 5 of us in fact, my boyfriend, 2 of my best friends and the boyfriend of one of them, we made up our minds and went to Italy for our holidays. Even today, 9 years later, we still remember with fondness all the funny stories we relished for 15 days in the September 2007. The first step on our trip was Rome, the so-called Eternal City. I loved Rome for one reason in particular, the beauty. First and foremost, the beauty of the Italian men, in particular all those jaw-droppingly handsome carabinieri who were watching over all the monuments of the city, which actually made us second guess what the actual monument was and what we were supposed to be looking at exactly. And secondly, the beauty of the city. Rome's a museum itself, a history museum. Each and every street you walk on has its own little chunk of history. Trajan's Column, the Roman Colosseum and Forum were nothing short of spectacular, in particular the Forum, where you could find some sensational views, well worth the queue to get in. Circus Maximus, the roots of Broadway. Via Appia, where the soldiers' parades were exciting, and the Catacombs, the grave of Christianity. It's also a museum of art. You can breathe art on every street, every single church. It's full of masterpieces, indoors and out, like no other city in the world. A museum of film. There are many places captured and seen in classic film scenes. I mean, come on. Who hasn't seen the Trevi Fountain scene filmed in La Dolce Vita? Or, the scene of La Bocca della Verite in Roman Holidays? I refrained from pretending to have my hand bitten off a la Gregory Peck. Allegedly, that scene in the film wasn't scripted and Peck truly shocked his co-star Audrey Hepburn. The days, though, are quite tough as a tourist with too many things to do and visit. Well, days might be tough, but nights are even tougher. If Rome bathed in daylight is spectacular, nights are just as worth it. Trastevere is the opportune place to have a bite to eat and a drink here and there, full of young people, restaurants and bars. It's a kind of oasis of fresh air amid the city and its history. The food's great in most food joints. I had 3 pizzas in the first 2 days, the best at Dabafetto, the strong cheeses. Everything goes down well with some white wine. The tiramisu from Pompi, which was close to the Piazza di Spagna, was just mouth-wateringly great. We had a hazelnut flavour, but seriously had to stop ourselves from buying more and more. Pompi also does great ice cream. We had booked an apartment and all 5 of us lived all together. And every night one of my best friends and I used to go out at night after the lengthy day of tourism stuff. Occasionally we'd go out to Trastevere to have a drink, sometimes to Piazza Navone to have an ice cream, or sometimes around the Trevi area to enjoy the views on a little stroll. We just couldn't waste away our time sleeping with all that life outside. We had to go out, if only because we could no longer stand the pressure of the rest of the group. They acted as if they were our parents. Every night when we came back, we had to listen to their constant nagging, and each time we couldn't help laughing, which, in hindsight, made them even angrier. They still travel with us, though, so I think they must love us the way we are. Days were properly interesting. I love art, and I enjoyed it a lot. St. Peter is amazing, with the Baldacchino and La Pieta, Bernini's masterpieces. You mustn't forget to visit this church of St. Pietro in Vincoli either, to bask in the delightful statue of Moses and the catacombs. Whilst there, we ran into an old retired Spanish priest, who in turn was quite pleased to run into us there. He explained the story of those catacombs to us, and he gave us a little figurine with the image of the Virgin Mary. We had quite a few laughs when we found ourselves trying to avoid the guards at the door of every church. We went in summer, and summer can really get quite warm, and almost every day the girls forgot to bring something to cover and hide our shoulders or legs, if we wore indecent clothes. It was funny how we avoided the guards or made up some costume on the spot to trick them, with whatever we could find in our bags. It goes without saying that it left us giggling for a while afterwards. The Vatican's a bit overwhelming, to be honest, and the Sistine Chapel's nice, but after walking through 13 rooms, with also quite good frescoes, I was a bit fed up by the time I got to the Sistine Chapel. What's more, there are too many people and it's a right pain walking through the museum. Traffic ends up being quite important, if you want to come out of Rome alive. Beware of the traffic, 'cause honestly, it's like a jungle. Look carefully from left to right, and then once more. Even on the zebra crossing, the pedestrian doesn't have the right to cross. Despite an Italian telling me about it prior, it still shocked me. He told me that they've gotten used to doing that, letting the car or the million motorbikes and scooters that zip around go past. In the end, I got used to it. You just have to be determined. If you doubt about crossing for a second, the car will go, and the next car will go. You've just got to put your foot out and cross. The cars all stop. Well, most of the time. Rome's full of fountains too, and not only like the Trevi one, I mean with drinking water. It was more than welcome, owing to the weather. All my friends said the water tasted good, but the fact is, the water, at least for me, was full of bugs. My intestines found out the hard way. So after 6 days in Rome, we hired a car and started our trip to Florence. All 5 of us, and of course those little bugs.